Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Test Drive Garage, and I can say guys because when I look at the analytics, it's literally 99.99999% men who are watching this show, so what can you do? We did not talk about my Ford Focus. Last time we did a little episode, we were cleaning up the garage and getting everything ready for the E38, but I need to get this car at least a little bit more presentable. I do want to drive it. I took it to Urjo Ford a few weeks ago. They did a full inspection on the vehicle. There's some small rust issues here and there, but for the most part, the car doesn't have any serious problems. I'm getting the front brakes done on it, and something with the steering. I noticed when you're turning towards the right, it would thump or hit something, so that's all getting sorted out this week. But before I drop it off, I want to make it look a little bit nicer than it does now. So what we're going to be doing today is stripping away that rust. I haven't done rust on a car for probably 13 or 14 years now. It was pretty much back in high school was the last time I actually tackled rust on a car. So I'm going to be learning as I go. I've got some wire wheel brushes to be able to scrape some of that off. I've got some new sanding pads to be able to sand down some of the areas and get it ready to go. And then I've got the paint for this light Tundra is the paint code on my Focus. So I'm actually just waiting to pick up a spray can of it. Should be enough to do the bottoms of the rocker panels on both sides. It's been actually less time since I've painted a car. We're going to be doing that. So why don't you join me as I learn how to fix rust? Alright, so sorry for the audio quality here. It's just a whole lot easier if I film everything off the GoPro if I don't have the microphone because it just gets too sweaty. So I have gotten rid of as much rust as I can. Keep in mind that this is not meant to be a professional restoration job on this car. This car is too far gone in terms of, rust underneath the car and things to really put too much into it. But it's really for me just to get into this again, use this car as a test bed so that I can sort of learn some things to do on the E38. But anyway, everything's prepped. I've sanded down some of the rougher areas that I've done. I have two things here that we're going to be using. I got the actual spray paint from my local Napa. It's VIN coated, so it should be identical. And then we've also got the clear coat for after. Now, finding a place to do the paint is pretty hard. When I was back in Beamsville, Ontario, I used to go to a place in Stony Creek. It was actually a pool shop, and they would do the same thing. They take the paint coat and the VIN and color match it perfectly. So what I'm going to be doing, I know you should be taping off where you don't want paint. You should be covering the wheels and everything. But honestly, these wheels are garbage. The wheels themselves are trash. The rims are trash. So I'm not too worried about getting any paint on there. Plus, theoretically, we should be able to spray paint this on, put on the clear coat after, and it should look pretty good. I'm not expecting it to be a fantastic, seamless, you'd never know there was any problem paint job on it, but I'm thinking it'll look a whole lot better than all of this black. Now, I've done the rust areas. You saw when we were doing the time lapse there. It's more or less as good as we can get. I'm going to see if I can cover up this black crap on this side. This is the worst side with some of the black tar, essentially, that the guy who sold this to me put on it. So we're going to see, can I cover it up with the paint? If not, I'm going to have to get the brush wheel back out and grind as much of it off. So let's get to it. Alright, well, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we're just doing this side. I haven't started on the other side, but honestly, it doesn't look too bad. Now, I almost used up that whole spray can just for this side, mostly because the bottom, you know, the rocker panel here is in pretty rough shape in terms of paint on it. Wasn't much rust where I was painting, but obviously with all that rust proofing, it's pretty bad. So is it perfect? No, definitely not. You know, if you have a paint gun, I think it would be a lot better. This is more for touch-up stuff. I mean, I've done pretty much all the automotive painting I've ever done on spray cans before. The 1990 Honda Accord that we did, that car, when I bought it, that was my car, had black bumpers. It also had black door handles and black mirrors. They were unpainted, so I painted all that with spray cans. Plus, it had the wing. I put the little OEM spoiler deck lid on it. Had to paint that as well. And then same thing with the E38. Forget if I actually ever did a video on that, but about a year into my ownership of that, I was hit on the highway by a flying tire, and it just obliterated the front end of my car. So I actually got a new bumper and had to repaint it a little bit there too, and I used spray cans for that. So this side's done. I'm pretty happy. Not gonna lie, it looks a lot better, especially at first glance. I mean, obviously you're gonna be taking a hard look at it. You're gonna realize that there is something going on there. So I'm gonna let this side dry. We're gonna go on the other side now. Same thing, we gotta use the brush wheel, the wire wheel, to get off the rust. Plus there are a couple little holes, so I did buy that Bondo kit. So let's go over there, start working on that so we can get that side painted while this one's drying, and then we'll do the clear coat here, followed by the clear coat on the other side.
Alright, so I will do my best to get you guys good audio when I can. It's day 2 here, so I'm nice and dry. I had a shower after I filmed everything yesterday, so I don't mind putting the audio equipment on me. Now, you saw on our hyperlapse B-roll that I did the left side, the driver's side of the car. Looks pretty darn good. Now, you didn't see everything. I did do some stuff off camera because the GoPro died. The battery life on it is not great. Now, our Bondo at the bottom of this side has cured. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it gonna look rough? I hope not. That's why we've got all of our sandpaper here. We've got different grits. So I'm gonna be working with the biggest down to the smallest. Gotta figure out which one I gotta use first. I got a number of these. I was thinking to put it on the sander. I might not. We'll see how it ultimately works. But for now, at least, I might just do it by hand. We'll use the sander. I'm going to grind it down because obviously it looks really bad right now. You'll see it on the B-roll as I'm talking. I'll film a little bit of that before we actually start working on it. But I'm going to get that as smooth and as uniform as possible so it doesn't look too bad. And then we're going to spray it. And I'm hoping I have enough spray paint left. I kind of don't think I do, especially to be able to do the entire bottom of the rocker panel here. So we're just gonna play it by ear. So let's get to it and get this side all painted up.
Okay, so I know that was a catastrophic amount of rust that was coming out of everywhere, just everywhere. When I was sanding, you saw it. It's unavoidable. Welcome to Quebec. Now, if this was any other place on Earth, that amount of rust would be just massive red flags. You would just take the car to the junkyard immediately. But problem is pretty much all the cars in this price point, and even ones that are more expensive about this year, are in the same condition. So it's unfortunately pretty normal here. Now, I've sanded it down as best I could. Sure, I could continue going a little bit further. The problem is I don't want to go too far and then get down to that little metal mesh that we put on to actually brace the Bondo. So I'm going to leave it as this. I know it's not going to be perfect, but honestly, once it's painted, it's going to look a hell of a lot better than it did when I first picked this car up. So let's get to the paint, see if I've got enough. If not, we're going to have to make another run to Napa. So let's get to it.
Well, this is a very anticlimactic resolution to this video because the battery's dead. I don't know how. When I took it to the dealership a couple weeks ago, they tested the battery, everything was good with it, but maybe while I was cleaning the car and stuff, the doors were open too long, and I don't know. Point is though, it's done. Does it look great? I don't know. You be the judge. You can take a look at some of the footage as it's in the garage right now. It's unfortunately where it's gonna have to stay until tomorrow, and you're already watching this by the time I've pulled it out of the garage, but you can see that it looks quite a bit better than it did before. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it going to be rust-proof for the rest of time? Definitely not. This is not meant to be a long-term solution here. That would require a considerable amount of work. Really, I would have to replace most of the exterior body parts. We're not doing that here, right? And you saw with some of the previous B-roll and stuff, and while we were filming it, there's a lot of rust coming out of the frame area and the rocker panels and doors, things that have just been sitting there forever. So I'm sure things will only get worse, but at least it looks a little bit better. And should I decide to sell this thing, maybe I can make a little bit more off of it. Like I said, I paid basically $1,000 for it. We factor in the price of the Intrepid, and I ended up selling that off, and whatever, worked out to be $1,000 for this car. Not bad overall. I've put, in terms of actual money into this car, I don't know, $300 maybe. That's with the paint, that's with taking it to get the oil change, also the brakes and all that, which we'll be doing in the future, but you'll be actually watching it about the time we're doing it for real. So, you know, $300-400 into it's not bad. With the backup camera and dash cam that I installed, my Acumen XR10, chances are I probably could sell this for more than I paid for it. I don't think I could get $2,000 for it, but I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility if I listed it for about $1,600 Canadian, especially since the outside now looks a little bit better than it did before. Interior seats, which you'll see in another video, they look a lot better now that I have extracted some of the disgusting dirt out of it. And overall, I mean, the car works 145,000 kilometers, something like that. It's not really a whole lot. So I'm going to be keeping it for now. Now that we've done this, now that we've cleaned the seats, I'll probably redo the seat stuff from what you saw before, but I'm going to be doing that. And then the plan is to do a full episode on this car like we do with a normal episode of Test Drive, talk about what the Ford Focus had to offer for this model, generation and all that. So we're going to be going over that. I'm going to be driving it, putting some miles on it, get that battery charged back up, and we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about this car or anything that I did, keep in mind this is not a DIY, tutorial video. Do not necessarily follow anything that I did in this. It's more just to show what I'm doing here. But if you have any questions about this car or anything else that I'm doing here at Test Drive, please leave a comment below. Give a thumbs up to this video if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you would like to see more content like this, and let me know what else you'd like to see. Until next time, thanks for watching and take care.